Locked on Bengals, locked on Browns. Let's get into keys to victory on this week's crossover presented by PrizePicks, where you can download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Spencer, from the Locked On Browns perspective, let's talk about some keys to victory in this game. What do you think the most important things are for the Browns to watch for or to play for in this game this weekend?
I think off of our conversation, obviously earlier about just Dorian Thompson-Robinson taking over and being the starting quarterback, getting him comfortable has to be like a top priority. Like they have to be able to, on the opening drive of the game, put something together, even if it doesn't end in a score, like move the football, get him sort of feeling like he can make some easy throws, maybe use his legs a little bit to get him comfortable that way, and give yourself something to build off of, because this offense is only going to go as he goes, and as you're trying to evaluate him, you want to give him the best opportunity to sort of be successful. Obviously, we talked about the Bengals defense and some of the issues that they have. There's an opportunity there to I think, make some plays and do some things if you're DTR. But again, you got to make him comfortable sort of out of the gate. So I think that's probably my number one thing. My second thing, relating to the defensive side of the ball, has to just revolve around the big plays. Like I mentioned, Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow are playing just out of this world right now. I like that you brought up, Jake. Like usually when these two teams get together, the Browns secondary, there's always some chirping going on between the Bengals wide receivers and the Browns secondary, and they tend to do a pretty good job against these Bengals wide receivers. Now, the biggest thing though, Denzel Ward's been phenomenal. He's probably having the best year of his career. I'm curious to see how they deploy him, because generally he just stays on his side of the field, but every now and then they sort of have him shadow a guy more often. And so I'm curious to see if they do that in this game with Ja'Marr Chase, especially knowing that Martin Emerson Jr. has had some struggles this year. He's kind of been the guy that quarterbacks have targeted this year. And he's dealing with a concussion right now, so he might not even play. And Greg Newsome's obviously on the IR, so he's missing from this matchup. So you're banged up in the secondary, taking away the best you can. Ja'Marr Chase, he's going to get his, but trying to limit that connection, I think, is really important. And then the last thing I would just say is probably some form of Myles Garrett having one of those classic Myles Garrett like takeover games, like we talked about with the Joe Burrow part of this. Like that guy always seems to play really well against Joe Burrow. And, I know Joe Burrow's made some sort of joking comments about how good of a player Myles is. And yeah, like there's been instances over and over again where we've seen Myles really throw things off for Joe Burrow and what he wants to do and getting comfortable in a game. If he can generate that pressure, make life difficult for him, slowing down this offense is obviously the main goal. And that starts, I think, with Myles having a big game.
Yeah, not going to get a debate from me when it comes to Myles Garrett or Denzel Ward. Those are the two. It's what makes this matchup so unique to me, especially going up against the Bengals, is just how tough they can make it. And obviously, we'll see on Newsom or on Emerson. We know about Newsom, but yeah, that secondary combined with the defensive front. Obviously, it's led by Myles Garrett, but there are other guys that have made an impact against this Bengals offensive line. And we'll see what the Bengals do. Alex Kappa in concussion protocol. He was at practice on Wednesday. Was not practicing when I was there, but we went through stretch. We know how protocol is. If he does not start at right guard, I would expect Andrew Stuber to make his first career start. So just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, can that work? But that's certainly something that we'll be paying attention to.
Andrew Stuber going to catch some Myles Garrett in his first career start because they're going to move Myles around, and that's not a test that I'm envious of for Stuber coming off the practice squad where he's bounced back and forth for the Bengals this year. Spencer, did you have something you wanted to add in there? I might have cut you off before we get to the Bengals keys.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, you never want to get somebody getting like their first start or like a first time matchup against Myles Garrett. That's never a good thing.
I joked with James. I think we weren't recording at the time, but like they might not get that much worse, even if it's not Kappa, because of the level Kappa's played at in pass protection this year. Like it hasn't been good for him. He's clearly showing the signs of the injuries that he's dealt with over the course of his career. It's been tough to watch Alex Kappa at times this year in pass protection. So, there's always a chance, I guess, there that it doesn't
It's something
necessarily
new.
get worse.
Yeah, it's something new. We'll see if Myles Garrett has the his basketball crossover ready for the Bengals this year.
Gotta
But
expect it, right?
well, I mean, Joe, Mike Tomlin mentioned it on Hard Knocks. If you guys are keeping up with that at all, he was like doing he was doing a film session, and he was like, "This is the guy that likes to do the crossover. They move around across the defensive line." So it's now a famous moment, I guess, in NFL lore. So
I'll be catching up on Hard Knocks immediately after we finish this recording. James, let's get me to watching Hard Knocks. Let's talk about the Bengals' keys to victory.
Yeah, first one, last one, and really all three can revolve around Myles Garrett. Don't let him wreck the game. He's the best player on the other team. He can be the kryptonite. And so you got to make sure the kryptonite doesn't get to Superman, which is Joe Burrow. And it's really that. So, I mean, the paths for the Bengals to struggle on offense, a lot of them revolve around 95 just completely wrecking the game. So that would be number one. Two, I think this defense, can it continue to do what it did last week, which is force a bunch of turnovers with a young quarterback like Will Levis? Can you do it again? Can Geno Stone, who was limited on Wednesday with a shoulder, we'll see, but I think he's fine. We'll see, though. Can he continue his late season resurgence? Is Cam Taylor-Britt maybe going to have another interception his second in 3 weeks? We'll see. But that would be number two, is taking advantage of a matchup against DTR, and who knows, maybe that dead cat bounce we've been talking about, Jake, continues for this defense. And then number three, it's got to be these receivers. We know the Bengals are going to pass it all over, and that's just what they do. And so it's probably going to be a little quicker than normal, which means Joe needs to get rid of it quicker. These receivers need to get open, get separation quickly, and find ways to make plays with the ball in their hands. So, I mean, those are the three, because you still want big plays, but I just don't think you're going to have the longer developing plays. And Joe's been great off script this year, but I don't love Joe holding it for 9 seconds again. As good as that Titans defensive front can be with Jeffrey Simmons, this animal that they're dealing with on Sunday, Myles Garrett, he's just a different beast, man. He's on another level.
Yeah, we'll see if they go back to more of that Dallas game plan where they had to deal with Micah Parsons in that game, who obviously has a Myles Garrett-like impact on passers quite frequently. One of the better pass rushers in the NFL as well. Not trying to rile Browns fans up by comparing him to Myles Garrett. I probably inadvertently did so. Anyway, point is Micah Parsons is really good. And the Bengals in that game used a bit of a different game plan to attack the Dallas defense, knowing they had to get rid of the ball quickly, knowing that there were some matchups that they liked in the Dallas secondary. And with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase out there, yeah, you can maybe dedicate Denzel Ward in a safety to Jamar Chase, and now you have to deal with T. Higgins. And they found some ancillary options in Mike Gesicki and Chase Brown that Joe Burrow's really found, I think, some comfort and confidence throwing to, and those guys have been useful pieces at times when those first two guys were taken away. But I'm still looking for the Bengals to force those targets to Jamar Chase, get him those little touch passes on jet sweeps, pad up those reception numbers, keep him ahead for that triple crown. And I'm only slightly joking when I say that. That's like a only half joke. Mostly serious. Let's get Jamar those touches he needs to do some cool stuff, some historic stuff this season.